Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar. My name is Amber Hines. I'm the owner of Ashbur, where we specialize in insurance-based solutions that help clients either qualify for Medicaid or help clients to pre-plan for a long-term care event. I'm super excited to have Jim Blake here with us today from BAMBiz. He's going to be talking about getting hired by clients in spite of the pandemic and doing that via online platforms. I've known Jim now for several years. We're usually at live events together, but as we all know, that hasn't happened in 2020. So if you have any questions throughout today's webinar, feel free to type those into the questions box and we'll go ahead and answer those at the end of today's webinar. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll let you take it away, Jim.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amber, for having us on here again. The last webinar I think we did last year, we got a lot of feedback on that. Can you see my screen still?
It went to a different, it looks like it's your desktop now. The slides went away for some reason.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Awesome. Just making sure that you guys can see everything there. All right, so we're going to jump right into this today. We're going to talk about getting hired by clients using online marketing in spite of everything that's going on right now. So why online marketing? First off, you're going to get better reach. You're going to have access to more people in your area when you're using it. You can target your ideal clients easily. So maybe a lot of you have done in the past the direct mail campaigns and things like that, where you're able to look at the demographic profiles and really get in there and target those people based off of their household income, their assets. We can do that very easily online. It's less costly than traditional marketing techniques like direct mail, newspaper, magazine, TV, and radio, and you get really, really fast results. So if you start doing this, today, and it goes live today, you're going to get people watching it, interacting with it, and asking for more information by providing you with their contact information off the bat. So obviously the impact of the coronavirus has been felt with the estate planning and the elder law attorneys that we work with throughout the country. The 60+ population is embracing technology right now more than they have ever done before, because that's how they're interacting with their family. That's how they're talking to their children. That's how they're seeing their grandchildren. So they're getting more used to Zoom and FaceTime than 8 months ago, a year ago. Those are some of the things that we really had some difficulty with that population. Fewer speaking opportunities. A lot of our clients in the past, they used to get invited by assisted living facilities, nursing homes, financial advisor, referral partners to speak at events. Those aren't happening anymore, or they're happening on a very limited basis. Live workshops and seminars have limitations that are imposed on them right now, depending on where you live in your community. Unable to use direct mail for online events. Well, we've seen some people that have tried to use direct mail to get people to register for a webinar, but it just hasn't really been that successful. Older marketing methods are really not as effective as they were, back at the beginning part of this year. So it's time to adapt and take a look at what we can do right now to make sure that you finish 2020 as strong as possible and that you can implement this stuff for your firm in 2021, because who knows what 2021 is going to look like as of right now. I did want to just go over today's agenda and the things that we're going to talk about. And I don't really put a slide on there about myself. If you have never met me before at an event, like Amber had said, we used to go to a lot of the different conferences out there, state bars, the NALAs, and things like that. But I'm Jim Blake. I own BAMBiz, and we only work with elder law and estate planning attorneys, and we only do their online marketing. So we have clients all over the country right now, and we do these things exactly that we're going to talk about right here for elder law and estate planning firms. We're going to talk about paid ads, which are online, social media, which is free, email marketing, websites and SEO, how to win with webinars, some of the tips and the best practices that we've seen over the course of the last 6 months, 8 months or so, and then how to resume live workshops. We used to market, probably about 90% of our business was marketing live workshops and live events. And right now we're about 40 to 50%. We're doing live events again. So we have elder law firms that have reached back out to us. They've resumed their in-person live events. We're just going to go over some of those best practices that they've seen and what you could expect if you decided to resume your live events as well. So paid ads, what are paid ads? Paid ads allow you to put your money behind something online and target that to your ideal audience, so that's typically going to be the adult children and the seniors themselves. And you're going to give them away something valuable. So what is that valuable thing? That could be a webinar on demand or a live webinar where you're educating them on topics that you can help them with. In-person live events, digital educational materials like ebooks, guides, short videos, and that type of thing. Like the beauty of the paid ads is you turn them on, and if you have a system in place that you know already works, you're going to get results on a predictable level. You can target qualified people in the demographics that you're able to help. You provide them with something valuable. You collect their contact information. That's key. So you get their name, their phone number, their email address, so that your team can reach back out to those people that have requested to watch your webinar, attend your events, or download your resources, see why they did that, and then see if they have any questions and want to set up a consultation with you. That's the follow-up part, and that's the most important part right now. Scheduling consultations, and then, like I said, the ad cost to acquire a new lead varies depending on what you're giving away. So the more committed somebody has to be to do something, the higher that typically is going to cost you in your ad spend. For example, to get somebody to download an ebook, maybe it's like a one-page PDF that talks about, 5 things to look out for if you have a loved one that goes into a nursing home. Someone will provide you with their name, their phone number, their email address, and do that. We've seen for an average of about $5 to $8 a piece. So that scales, and when I have 100 people, it's $5 a piece. What is that budget? That's what that looks like. To get somebody to watch an on-demand webinar right now, we've seen an average nationwide of around $30 to get somebody to, provide their name, their phone number, their email address, and watch a webinar that you're hosting. That could be a live webinar that takes place at a certain date and time, or it could be an on-demand webinar that's running for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then for in-person events, that's a variable right now. We've seen them as low as $20 to get a household to register for an event. This is during COVID. This is not before COVID. This is right now, about $20 a household in certain areas, and as high as about $150 to $175 in some of the more urban areas where people have no idea like what their local government's going to say on a day-to-day basis. Now, what we have seen is that people that do those live events in some of those more urban areas with more restrictions, they're okay even paying that higher cost to get the household to register for the events because it still ends up working out for them at the end of the day. So what does a paid ad look like? Well, you can imagine somebody, grandma's on Facebook right now looking at pictures of her grandchildren, looking at pictures of her family, reading some information, and then they see an ad that pops up, inviting somebody to come to their live webinar. And this is an example here. I blocked out some things so that we didn't give away the attorney's information here. But you can see that, it's nice because unlike a billboard or unlike a TV ad or something like that, people can make comments. Now that can go both ways, but you can control the bad ones and respond to those and hide those appropriately. But here's a good one here, right? I'm glad I attended today's webinar, thank you. And then the attorney was able to respond back, thank you. And obviously that probably ended up turning into a consultation and maybe even a retained client from that webinar. So you can see how that works there. So that pops up, they click on that, it takes them to a registration page, they register for the webinar, and then you get that information. I did post this so you kind of knew like what I was talking about with what does a lead cost on paid ads, what to expect, and to show you that it's kind of little all over. So right here you can see this particular client got 73 leads. That's names, phone numbers, email addresses, or this was a webinar for $11.44 a registration or for the webinar. This is a guide download campaign, and when I took this, they had 27 people that did that, and it cost them $4.85 for on average for each person that actually downloaded that guide. This is a workshop, and this is a workshop to show you these are live events. These two were both live events. So one of them was getting 36 households leads. And when for a live event, a lead could mean a family, like a buying unit, some people call those, or a household, I call those. But 36 buying units are households at an average cost of $28.66 per household. And then this one, I wanted to show what a higher one costs too, right? So you can see this was an elder law live event, and they got 63 households on here for an average cost of $82.07 for a household. And now, just like I said, it depends on the area that you're in. But if you're working with a company like us, you know, our goal is to always get you whatever that lowest cost is in your area for those paid ads. So, and as I'm going through this, if you have questions, we're saving a little bit of time at the end of the webinar for I'm going to answer the questions for you. So please write down those questions, send those questions into the chat, because I know that I covered a lot of stuff about paid advertising. And sometimes when I'm talking to, you know, our clients or, you know, people on the phone that are maybe interested in what we're doing, they have questions about that. So before I move on, I want to say, hey, write down those questions now. That way we can go to those questions at the end of the webinar and answer those for you. So why is Facebook really good for elder law firms? Well, that's because 4 out of 10 adults are getting their news directly from Facebook. That number is probably higher right now since everybody's at home and online more than ever before. 46% of those over 65 are on Facebook. 74% of adults who use Facebook check the site at least once a day, and 7 out of 10 adults are on Facebook. And then that was provided by the Pew Research study. That was provided before coronavirus. I'm sure those numbers are up based off what we've been seeing. Social media. Now, when I'm talking about social media, it's totally different than paid ads. So when you're running a paid ad on Facebook, it's not really going on your Facebook page. It looks like it's coming from your Facebook page, but the people that like your page and stuff like that aren't seeing your ads. The ads are only going out like a direct mail piece to people who are qualified in your area that you're targeting. It doesn't have anything to do with your actual Facebook firm business page itself. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Facebook is ideal for elder law and estate planning firms. The goal would be to post at least 2 times a week. Don't post too much fluff. Post things that are fun to share and get people thinking and educate, and look like you're open for business. So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into these right now. Since the older adults, those adult children, and those seniors are on Facebook, they're online, your Facebook business page is an extension of your current website to be a business card for those folks to click on, look at, and basically make sure that you look like you're open for business and somebody that they want to associate themselves with. By posting what we like to say at least 2 times a week, it allows somebody to feel comfortable that you are active and you're in business and you're helping people. When I put on there, don't put too much fluff, sometimes we see people post things like National Donut Day, or maybe they post an article from Forbes like every week or once a month, and it's just some very boring, generic, just a link to an article. And those are some very common things that we've seen. That's stuff that you can post, but it needs to be posted along with other, other content that's going to be relative to your audience. So, like I said, things that people will share, that get people thinking, that educate them, that are fun. And so we create content like this, and this is some examples here so you can kind of see what that stuff looks like. But it's basically simple, fun posts that then you write some content below it and people share. So it's a fun image or fun video with some content about elder law and estate planning topics that are typically conversation starters for people that are looking to engage with you or have questions. Or, if you could have your firm list out, let's brainstorm 30 of our frequently asked questions, and now let's go ahead and write 2-page posts about each one of those things, and you can pre-schedule that type of content and then use that content, for the course of a couple months, and then spend another day and create that content on a regular basis. You'll see that that's going to be what is going to be engaging. People are going to share it, and when people do jump onto your Facebook business page, they'll be able to, see that you guys are working with the community and you have an active voice. And these can be used for other platforms too, like Instagram and LinkedIn. However, for those adult children and those seniors, Facebook's going to be where you want to spend most of your time. LinkedIn's more for those professional networking opportunities there. And then Instagram does lean to a younger demographic. So sometimes we've seen some more estate planning firms that are kind of targeting like the younger parents, or those in like the mid 30s, 40s that have some younger children. That would be where you'd want to target a little bit more on Instagram. But for elder law, Facebook's where you want to be. Email marketing. Here's one that we've been really focused on during the pandemic that you should take advantage of. When you grab a contact from somebody that calls your office, or that's signs up for something on your website, or opts into one of your paid marketing campaigns, they need to be going onto an email list that you're communicating with them on a regular basis. I know that some firms don't like to hear this, but the best practice is to send a weekly email newsletter to all of your contacts. This is people that have engaged with you in the past, that haven't engaged with you in the past. It's going to be, what is the difference between staying busy during some of these, trying or slower times and not, right? And so this content doesn't need to be too flashy. It doesn't need to be legal. It just needs to have fun, educational content that you can go in there and post. And I can send you some examples of this if you want. Same thing with the other stuff that we were talking about. But no legal jargon, keep them opening your email. So if you're having, maybe you had some of that content that you created on your social media and you want to share that in your emails, you can share that in your emails. Maybe you make a video, you share that in your emails. You have a special event coming up, you're doing webinars, you're doing that type of stuff, send that in your emails. We have some clients that are featured on local news outlets that do radio shows and all sorts of stuff. And so if you have anything like that, you just, every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Wednesday, whatever that day is that you want to send that out, you send out that email. And it can be short, but the goal is you want your list to know that you send out regular communication. So some people are like, well, what if I only do it once a month, or what if I do it once a quarter? The problem that we've seen on that is that you're better almost off not doing it, because what happens is people see the email and that your unsubscribe rates go up dramatically. With what we've been doing with our weekly email newsletter, just to give you an idea, you're getting between a 20 to a 30% open rate on every email newsletter. That's really good. So that's something to think about there. When you do it once a quarter, once a month, that open rate goes down significantly and your unsubscribe rate goes up. So, and then you own the email. You don't have to worry about paying for the ads again. We get a lot of people that register for our attorneys' webinars and for their live events, and that re-download guides and materials, months and months and months later, because they continue to get that email newsletter and they see something else that attorney's doing, and then they request it. So that's something to keep in mind there and take advantage of. A lot of different companies are out there that, programs like MailChimp, Aweber, Constant Contact, and some of the even CRMs that firms are using provide the opportunity for you to, do your email newsletter through them. Website and SEO. Why is that important? So with your website is your online business card. And so it needs to have clear client identifiers. Who are your clients that you want to work with? How can you help those people? What's their next step? So there's a book out there. I'll recommend it. It's called Story Brand by Donald Miller. And it's a great book, and it has nothing to do with the legal, legal websites or the legal industry. But if you read that book, and you'll have a really good idea of what your website should look like, how it should be set up, and how it should read. Because simple is best, like I have here. You want it to be clean. You want it to be optimized for desktop and mobile. You want to have multiple areas on there where they can provide their contact information so your firm can reach back out to them and answer questions. But really, most importantly, you want them to go onto the website, see who you help, why you help them, and have easy points on the website for them to take the next step. You don't want them to get lost. You don't want them to get confused. You don't want them to get overwhelmed. And those are the things that we see most happen on elder law and estate planning websites. People get to that website and they're like, where do I even begin? And then they go to like the About Us section. And if you have multiple attorneys, they see multiple attorneys and multiple bios, and they don't know, and they see all the different things and the organizations that you're associated with, but they really just want to know, how do you help me in my situation? And that's what your website should focus on. So again, we're actually putting together a cool PDF that's almost like it uses kind of like some of those elements from like the StoryBrand book, if you end up reading that. And it's not finished yet, but my email address, jim@bambiz.net. If you want to send me an email, I'll keep your information, and then once that's finished, I can send that over to you. But you'll be able to use that yourself, or you can give that to another marketing company, and then they can help kind of build your website or update your website to kind of fit that template. And then obviously we can do that for you too if that was something that you were interested in. But one of the things here before I move on, we get a lot of people that reach out to us and they've built their website on a proprietary web platform that they don't own. And if you're about to, build a website or think about updating your website or whatever that may be, my best advice to you is not to lock yourself in some kind of a contract and not to have your website on some proprietary website platform that you are not able to control. So we always recommend using WordPress. That's the industry standard right now. And then make sure that you own it, that you can take it with you, that nobody else is going to have control of that website if things go wrong or anything like that. So SEO, how does SEO work, and what should you do? What can you do right now to improve your organic or the free advertising and marketing that you get when somebody searches locally on Google and Bing and Yahoo and the other search engines? The things that you can work on right now is if you go to your website and you see that you have your services and your other important pages, clean those up and make it crystal clear who you help and why you help them. Talk about how that relates to your local area. California is different than New York, is different than Florida, right? Talk about those differences in your local communities on those services pages and on those other main important pages on your website. A lot of companies will be able to do things like a tech audit and an optimize on the back end to see if there's any broken links or slow loading pages and that type of thing. So take a look at that, see if there's issues on the back end of the website, and if there are, fix those. Do a content audit. Look through, some people pay companies to write blogs for their website, but they're the same blog on a million different elder law websites. So that doesn't help anybody. You can keep that on there, but it's not helping your SEO by any means. A lot of the times, and you should take a look at this if this might apply to you, the domain where your blogs are housed, if you're hiring another company out there to do those, might be off your website completely. And then that's not helping you at all. That's helping whatever the marketing company or the main domain is from the company that's sending you that content. So check that. But if you do have content on your website, make sure that it's good, make sure that it's still relative, make sure that the links still work on that. And then you should always be thinking, who do I want to help? Who are my ideal clients? What is that ideal client avatar that I'm looking to attract to my firm? And every piece of content that's on your website should be speaking to them personally. That's how, when Google is looking at this, if someone types in, mom in a nursing home in Ohio or Cleveland or whatever, right? And then they search that and they pop up, there's an article on the website about nursing home in Cleveland, paying for the nursing home in Cleveland, and that's the type of client you're looking for, right? So they're looking to see how long that person's staying on your page, that people are sharing those pages, other companies or organizations are linking to that. So if you have good content on your page, send those links over to your referral networks, right? So those nursing homes, to those financial advisors, to those other members of your community, if you're in BNIs or Chamber of Commerce's and that type of thing, send those links and those pieces of content out to those folks. Those people will link back to those premier pieces of content on your website, and that will help you with your SEO. Google My Business, if you're not familiar with that, you should be able to access Google My Business. Make sure that your phone number's right, your hours are right, your website's all linked up on there. That's going to really help. And then write unique long form content. If you need to write new content, we like to recommend, somewhere between about 600 to 1,000 word pieces of content that are unique to your firm, not canned content that other people are sharing around other firms in the country. And then base it off of, like, again, your ideal client avatar, that profile of that ideal client that so if you were really focusing in on crisis planning cases, then you need to be writing each piece of content to that person that you're looking to help. Again, 600 to 1,000 word articles are what's going to get people to stay on your website for longer. And then when you're in those articles, by the way, like, as the content's not going to do it all. In the content, there needs to be places in the content for them to take the next step, which would be click here to schedule an appointment with our firm, click here to download a checklist of things that you need to do based off of this article, right? So the content gets them there. It gets them to like you, gets them to trust you, they feel educated, and then those opt-ins are what's going to get them to take the next step, schedule the consultation, take a call the office, or download or join your email newsletter list. There's so many different things that you can do there, but that's what you really need to be focusing on. So now I want to jump into winning with webinars. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about what we've seen with webinars right now and how you can maximize the ROI if you're using webinars as your method right now for generating new clients. So if you haven't figured it out, there's less urgency when you're doing a webinar than when you're doing a live in-person event. People are busy, their dog's barking, there's something on TV, there's just a lot going on in their lives, or they think there's a lot going on in their lives in some instances, but it's just less urgent. There's issues with technology still. Like, even at the beginning of this webinar, like, the screen popped off and I had to go back and find the slides so you guys could look at those. So there's just issues, little funny things with technology that you never know it's going to go 100% all of the time. There's some hand holding involved. You do a webinar, a live one or something, 7 o'clock in the evening on a Tuesday, and John Smith can't get on and he doesn't know what Zoom is, and now he's calling the office, and you're trying to help that person figure out how to download Zoom on their iPad so they can access the webinar. The lack of follow-up, this is something that is critical for firms. Following up with webinar leads is the only way that you're going to see ROI on your webinars. They're not in the room with you, they're not shaking your hand, they're not looking you directly in the eye, they're watching a video probably while they're distracted, and then they move on to whatever they were doing next. Like, okay, well, it's 7 o'clock, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go have dinner now, and then they forgot about it. So we've actually created, for on-demand webinars, you can modify them for some live webinars, a series of 14 follow-up steps, which include text messages, emails, and phone calls, and when you should do them. And we're going to give those to you for being on here today. And that's a good place for you to start. But the follow-up is key. If you just are going to try to call them, or you're going to wait for them to call you, or you're going to have a button on the page that takes them to your Acuity scheduling or your Calendly link or something where they're going to make the appointment, and you're hoping and crossing your fingers that that person's going to take the action, it's not going to be as successful as your hopes are. So you really need to take the initiative, have your team reach out. You don't register for an elder law, protecting my home and savings from nursing home costs webinar unless you really need help with something related to that topic. So you're not doing them a disservice by following up, you're doing them a disservice by not following up, and I can't stress that enough. On demand versus live. So I kind of talked a little bit about some of the technology issues. There's two things that we've seen. One, with the live webinars, you're going to run into not everybody shows up for the live webinar, and then some of the people that do show up might have technology problems that you have to address. So that can cause some headaches, or you forgot to send out the right link to the webinar. There's just a lot of different things there. But some people like to see people in the room, and that's a mental thing. That's I had 50 people sign up for my webinar. 25 of them showed up. And so I'm very happy with just seeing other humans on the webinar with me, and I like that. It makes me feel good, and that's fine. But what we've really seen has been the most successful if you follow up with them, is the on-demand webinar. Because if you get 50 people that sign up for your on-demand webinar, you know that at least 50 people have watched some of your webinar. And where we've seen this get better and better and better over the course of the last 6, 7, 8 months is that we've shortened the webinar significantly. So when we first started here, we're like, well, I have this video of my webinar that I did live. It's 90 minutes long. Let's get it up and running. No one's watching 90 minutes of your webinar on demand, so that wasn't very good. But now we have 6-minute webinars, 10-minute webinars, 15-minute webinars, and 30-minute webinars, and some are still longer. The shorter the webinar, the better. These don't even really need to be webinars. They just need to be educational content where you're telling them some stories, you're giving them some facts, and you're letting them know how important it is for you to answer their questions when your team follows up with them. So you're almost selling the follow-up on the webinar as the on-demand webinar. And that's what you should be doing. That's what we would recommend, because you're spending the money on the ads, you're getting people to sign up, you want the people to actually watch, interact, and schedule consultations if it's appropriate. Resuming live in-person events. This one's been kind of fun. So we've seen events at drive-in movie theaters. We've seen events at minor league ballparks. We've seen people that rent tents and they put them out in their front yard of their office, and they set up outside workshops. We've also have a lot of people that, they used to do them at libraries and community centers and things like that. Those facilities aren't still hosting events, but they've moved to like Hilton Garden Inns and some other limited service hotels who need the business. They're getting really good deals on that space, and those ballrooms allow the ability for people to spread out and have room to have a great workshop that meets the guidelines in their local communities. Also, we've seen some success at restaurants that have like party rooms. Maybe that was expensive or more costly in the past, but now these restaurants, they're ready, they need some business, they're looking to make deals. So reach out to some of those local places, see if you can get some of those party rooms, again, where people can spread out and feel safe, host them according to your guidelines, but people are showing up. Just depends on the area, on, like I said, like what it costs to get that household there, but there's not been an area yet that we've done the marketing for where it's like nobody signed up. So, people are signing up, people will sign up, people will attend. And if people are attending a live in-person event right now, that's a very, very high quality lead for your firm because they're action takers. And the nice thing is, if weird things happen and you're using online marketing to promote your live event, it allows quick changes. So if the city says, okay, we got to shut down, for whatever reason, again, we can turn off your marketing, we can switch it to a webinar, and then we can, send out those links. So it doesn't kill your event. So I wanted to kind of jump into the Q&A, but before I jump into the Q&A, like I said, I have a few things that I wanted to give everybody here for being on here with us today. We have online workshop follow-up scripts and free example social media posts. We have 10 days of free social media posts. So if you go to this link here, which is HTTPS, that's very important because that means it's secure, bambiz.net, and no www, just bambiz.net/Ashper. You can access those 2 free bonus items. And then as a thank you too, we're giving away 3 months of our social media content completely done for you. All you have to do is copy, paste, and schedule it on your firm page, which saves you hours and hours and hours a month of doing that. And then also 15 days of our targeted marketing. So you can use that for a live webinar, for an in-person event, for a guide download, a video download, whatever you want to use that for. 15 days, we'll build it for you, we'll market it for you for 15 days for only $297, which is, saving almost $1,400 what that would normally cost for being on here. So Amber, did anybody have any questions? I'd love to answer some.
We don't have any questions yet, other than somebody was asking for the name of the book that you referenced, but I was able to answer that. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to type those in now. Otherwise, you have Jim's direct contact information that is on the screen as well.
Awesome. Yeah, Story Brand is a great book. Donald Miller, he has an awesome podcast. Definitely worth checking out if you're into marketing and clarifying your message. Highly recommended.
Jim, have you found that most of the attorneys that you were working with pre-COVID that were doing live events have transitioned to doing the virtual events, and have they been successful for the most part?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's either doing a virtual event right now or they've moved back to live in-person events. So yeah, the most successful ones that we've seen have been people that are doing like the on-demand webinars and even the live webinars, and their follow-up process is really tied down. That's going to be the key. The follow-up for these webinars is so important.
Okay, I'm not seeing any questions that have been posted, so I will go ahead and let you go, but I appreciate you being on here today. And like I said, if anybody has any questions for Jim, feel free to reach out to him directly. Thank you.
Thanks, Amber, for having me. Thanks.
Take care.